If we're talking about a theory of everything, the first question we have to establish, does God exist?
Yes.
Most of us have an IQ of 100. Score in the 140 range, and you're in the genius to near genius category. 195 to 200, well, you're talking one in several billion people. Now, historians figure that Einstein and Franklin scored about 160, Darwin 165, Galileo 185, Isaac Newton 190.
That means Langan could possibly be the smartest person in the world.
Welcome to Soul's Opinion. Today we're exploring the perspective of Chris Langan, a man with one of the highest IQs ever measured at 200. Using pure logic, Langan presents why God doesn't just exist as a matter of faith, but as a fundamental necessity of reality itself.
Reality has an identity. Okay? The identity is that as which something exists. Okay? Matter of fact, when you say the word reality, you're naming an identity. You're identifying something. This.
Langan begins with a fundamental insight about reality itself. For reality to exist at all, it must have an identity, something that defines what it is. This identity isn't just a philosophical concept, but a logical necessity. This forms the foundation of his proof for God's existence.
I'm smiling because your answer on this is so beautiful. It just reminds me of Moses at the burning bush. And Moses at the burning bush says, "Who shall I tell the people that you are?" Talking to God. And God says, "Tell them I am that I am."
That's right.
I am identity itself. I'm being himself.
That's exactly right. That's what the CTMU says. It just comes up with the mathematical structure that you need to build a reality out of that. You see? So you come up with that identity and then you search it for its properties. You see, once you've built the preliminary framework, then you start deducing the properties of this identity, and you find out that those properties match those of God as described in most of the world's major religions.
This connection to the biblical I am isn't coincidental. When we use I am statements or affirmations, we're tapping into this same fundamental principle of identity. Langan's mathematical model suggests that God as the ultimate identity isn't just religious symbolism, but a logical foundation of existence itself.
God
the properties of the central substance and central principle of reality, those properties are attributed to God, including, of course, things like you have the three O's: omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence, but then you've also got consciousness. God has to be sentient. What is the universe?
Damned if I know.
You ever hear of the simulation hypothesis?
Yes.
Okay, well, the simulation hypothesis is basically the idea that the reality we see around us, physical reality, is simulated on some sort of an automaton or a computer.
What do you mean? I hate to put it in.
Well, I mean, okay, here's the display. You realize the display contains states.
Yep.
Okay, you see things, the objects contain states are static.
Yep.
That's why they're called states. Yeah. Okay, static. How do they change? Well, they have to be processed. Something has to be processed.
Yeah.
What makes Langan's argument so powerful is that it doesn't start with religious premises. He begins with the logical requirements for reality to exist and function. When he examines what properties this fundamental identity must have, he finds they match precisely with traditional descriptions of God: all-knowing, all-powerful, everywhere present, and crucially conscious. Langan uses the simulation analogy to illustrate a profound point. Reality consists of both what we experience, the display, and the underlying processes that allow change and coherence. For reality to function, something must process these changes over time. This provides further evidence that a godlike entity is necessary for reality to exist as we experience it.
Okay, God provides the processing functionality for your state. You have an internal state, an external state. You're a material human being.
Yeah.
Right? Like to explain how that is changing through time, and maintaining its coherence through time, even as it changes, that's what you need God for. You can establish a personal relationship with God. We're images of God. You know what an image is? It's basically the product of a mapping. God maps himself into each human being, right? That's a very personal thing that God is doing for us, right?
Here Langan completes his logical argument. Our existence as conscious beings who maintain coherence through constant change requires this divine processor. And far from being distant or impersonal, this God creates us as reflections or mappings of itself. This 200 IQ perspective bridges the gap between cold logic and spiritual meaning, suggesting that God's existence is both rationally necessary and deeply personal.